Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on the AgentXcel podcast. And today I'm going to be doing a solo show. So I am on day 73 of 75 hard. And some of you might be saying, I have no idea what that is. Well, if you don't listen to the show today, I'm going to share my journey on being on day 73, just sharing with you why I started, what the program is, the reason why I did it. But I thank you guys for listening to this, and I hope that it can take you on a journey where you can try to self-reflect, be self-aware, and try to solve some of your own challenges in your life. So I hope you guys all enjoy the show. I want to first start off by just thanking everybody for listening to this podcast. I've been doing the podcast now for about a year and a half, maybe a little longer, and it's just been a really fun journey to go down. It's been fun to, message realtors and ask them if, I can interview them. Hearing people's stories has allowed me to grow. Um, and then just bringing on my friends, that's been really fun, talking about subjects that are interesting to me, like investing and finances. And my goal was just to bring on people, highlight them, learn from them, and then also just talk about building a business. I don't think there's enough business owners that are documenting their journey. And that's how I look at this, is just, me with a microphone. And, when I get on these solo shows, I'm just documenting. It's just a documentary of someone who is working on building a business, always trying to build a better business. And so I just want to start off by thanking everybody for listening to the podcast. If you guys could review it, I don't think ever asked for anybody to do a review. But if you could, on whatever you're listening on, that would be great. But today's show, I wanted to talk about a personal journey that I have been on, which is 75 hard. Some of you probably know what 75 hard is. A lot of you probably do not. And there's going to be a reason why I talk about this, and not the exact reason, or I'm going to talk about why I'm doing it, but then why I think everybody should do some type of hard task or something that they think they shouldn't, or that they wouldn't be able to complete. I think there's a lot of things that you can learn through those days, and just having to go through something that's some days a struggle, some days not. And there's a lot that you learn about yourself. So that's what I want to talk about today. So first, what is 75 hard? Let's start with, that was put on by a guy by the name of Andy Frisella. He has he owns a business, and an uber successful business, and he has a podcast. And so he started this program 75 hard. So let's take it back to, if I remember the story correctly, I'm sure I might mess up a little bit of it, but this was the point. He said he was coaching people. He has like I said, an uber successful business, coaches other business owners, has like a coaching platform. And he said that he was talking to them, and he just realized, as he was telling them about building a business and discipline, and he realized that he was just really out of shape. And so he kind of felt like a little bit of a fraud, in a way, where he was talking to people about discipline while being like extremely overweight. And he said that he had told the audience that he was going to be in better shape by the next time that they met. And when he went home, if I remember the story correctly, that was 75 days from then. So he called this program 75 hard. And so he went on this journey. And so what 75 hard is, well, I should say, what I loved about what Andy did is he took a problem that he had in his life, and he decided that he wanted to change his life, and he didn't want that problem anymore. And the best part about the program is the simplicity of what you have to do. Now, everything is super simplistic. And if you just had to do it for 1 day, 2 days, or if you only had to do it for 6 days but got off 1 day, that'd be a different story. But it's all very simple actions that you do. Nothing hard about any of them for most people. It's the consistency. And I think that's what I learned the most about doing this program. So let's go to, I'm on day 73 now. So the program is 75 hard. I am not completed yet. I've got a few more days. So this is a Wednesday that I'm recording this. And so on Friday is my 75th day. I really wanted to record this at almost the completion, but I did not want to record it when I was done. So I 100% know that I will finish this in the next 2 days. And so that's why I'm recording this podcast right now. But Andy knew the problem. He knew what his problem was. He knew there was simple solutions to it. You don't have to. Most of our problems in our life are very simplistic answers. Now, they're emotional and they're hard to still get through, but the answer is very simplistic. The discipline might be the complex part, but he knew his problem. He realized it was simple solutions. And then he realized that there had to be consistency. So why I chose to do this was a few things. So I'm going to be 40 soon. What's great about today is not only am I talking about 75 Hard, the program, but I'm going to be 40 in 75 days. So it's really a cool day because I had been going through some thoughts and this has been going on for probably a few years. Just always wanting to be in better shape and really wanting more discipline around my eating, working out, and things like that. And so this has been a topic of mine in my head for the last several years. And it was about maybe 2.5 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. I was in Park City with some friends, and we were there for a real estate mastermind. And I brought a few friends with me. My wife and I rented a really nice place, brought some friends with us that are in the real estate business, and they stayed at the house with us. And that was the day where I realized that I have two friends that were there that are in pretty good shape. And that's when I realized my habits were different than their habits. When they went to go grab a snack, I grabbed a different type of snack. We grabbed food, I grabbed different type of food. Drinks, I grabbed a different type of drink. And that's where I realized it was very clear when I got home that you are who you hang out with, because I had this on my mind for the last few years. I did some things about it, not a lot, but a little bit. And then when I went to Park City, I realized that I have those two friends are in really good shape. And then I started looking at their habits and their disciplines. And that was the day that I realized that they are where they're at because of what they have did. And that's always been very clear to me in my business. I've always noticed that discipline leads to results. Results don't lead to discipline. So you have to start getting disciplined about something much sooner than you see the reward. And that's very challenging, especially in business, when you've got to do things for 3, 4, 5 months before you see any payoff. There's only certain people that can withstand that can go through the emotional discipline of not seeing the results, not getting the reward, not getting the trophy, but still having to do all the gritty work day to day. And so it was there where I realized that those two people's actions and habits were different than mine. And so I came home and I reflected on that. And as I was reflecting on that, I then went to this mastermind in Scottsdale, Arizona, and there was a author there that spoke. He was one of the keynote speakers at the mastermind, and I believe his book's called The Comfort Crisis. And I have not read that book yet, but he talked about the book. And so he was talking about, I believe the word is misogi, misogy. I might have that wrong, but I think it's a misogi. But anyways, the point of it is just, and I'll sum it down quickly, was he was just saying, go on a hard journey, go on a journey, do something yearly that you almost don't know if you can complete it. And so I had heard about 75 Hard for several years, and I'd always thought, man, I really want to do that program, but it seems very intense. And I have a lot of intensity in a lot of areas of my life. So, I thought that I could complete it, but I don't really sign up for stuff willy-nilly. Once I sign up for a mission, I usually have to complete it just based on just having standards to myself. And so when I went to this mastermind, he was talking about this misogi, and it's doing something hard once a year. And your hard is it's something different. And what's interesting about this is this all connected at a time that made so much sense. And that's where I say God's plan. God has a plan. And I think he brings people into our lives and things for a reason. And so I had this on my mind for several years that I wanted to get in better shape, eat better. And then I had went to Park City with a few of my friends. Two of them, I could see their habits were a little bit different than mine. Then I came back, went to a mastermind. They started talking about doing something very challenging that you don't know if you can complete. And then here's the deal. One of those friends that was in Park City messaged me on a Sunday and said, "Hey, do you want to start 75 hard tomorrow?" And that was, it was a Sunday. So it was the next day. And I kind of messaged them back and I was like, "No, I'm good." And I had always wanted to do it. And they didn't know this. And I was like, "No, I'm good." A few hours later, still texting, "Hey, well, I'm going to do it. You should do it." And then what I'm so thankful for is I was telling my wife, we were eating lunch and I told her how I was getting these texts. I don't really want to do it. I do, but I don't want to commit. You guys know what I'm talking about. We all go through the same stuff. And it was my wife that said, "You should do it." And I'm so thankful for her in saying that, because that was where I just decided I'm going to do it. When she said, "You should do it," I almost felt as if she saw something in me that she knew I wanted or I had talked about. And then she had saw something in me where she knew that I could complete it. And when she said, "You should do it," I was in, totally in. Like, went to the grocery store, started getting what I needed to get, and went all in. So that's why I just wanted to explain, all those factors that came into play. It was just, perfect timing, God's plan. And so I want to explain, the 75 hard program. Now, I'm not telling you to go do this. I'm telling you where I was at in my life, what I wanted to do, how this all connected. And I'd known about this program for a long time. And when my buddy said we should do this, and my wife said you should do it, I did it. Day 73, it's almost over. So what is 75 hard? So you've got to do things every single day. You cannot miss. You cannot miss one of these. If you miss one, you've got to start over. So this is about consistency. So remember when I said Andy, whenever he made this, Andy Frazzelli, he knew his problem. It was simple solutions. You'll hear what the solutions are. It's very simple. It's the consistency that would get most people. So what you have to do is 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside, and they have to be 3 to 4 hours apart. There's a point to that. It's so that you just don't go to the gym for an hour and a half or two and get it all done then. It's teaching you a lot about, this isn't a fitness challenge. This is a mindset challenge. This is getting through days and telling yourself that you've got to do this because you said you were going to do this. And it's not exactly about the food you eat or the water that you drink or the working out. It's about saying you're going to do something and doing it. And that's where you build confidence. That's what this program was for. So it's 2 45-minute workouts, one outside, 3 to 4 hours apart. Take a progress pic every single day. Read 10 pages nonfiction. Drink 1 gallon of water and no alcohol or cheat meals for 75 days. Now, that 1 gallon of water, I am telling you, if you do not figure out how to if you don't figure out how to drink that water early enough in the day, you are up all night. I had some nights where I was up 3 or 4 times, and you have to go to the restroom because you drank so much water. So that's what I'm saying. Like this, what I learned through this journey was discipline. And so like these 2 45-minute workouts, I was pretty consistent with, not every day, but super consistent with getting up between 5 and 5:30 a.m. and doing my very first walk. So my first workout usually in the morning was putting a ruck on. Anybody who doesn't know what a ruck is, R-U-C-K, it's a weight backpack. It's a backpack with a weight on your back. And I had a 20-pound one. And I wanted to make walking a little bit harder. So I'd go on a walk about 5 to 5:30 a.m. for 45 minutes. And I'd get that first workout. And you've got to start this early or it just starts compounding on you. There was a few days where I got up later and I had to get to work. I had to get to meetings. And so it started stacking up. And as it stacked up, that made my night times harder and less enjoyable. So getting up and starting and being intentional and getting after it early in the morning was the point. So I would get up at early in the morning, do my 45-minute ruck. You're already starting to pound water right there. Get back home, usually try to take the picture. Then I'd sit down in the morning, usually with coffee, and read my 10 pages. And so let's go into that right now. Like, it was cool. I've got a stack right here of the books that I read. And it's a lot of books. I'm really proud. Like, it just shows you where for 75 days, how much you can accomplish if you stay focused. So I'm going to grab these books right here. This this was my most current book. It was the Alex Hermosi Offers book. Great book. Taught me so much about offers and real estate, my offers that I could make to sellers and what my offers need to be right now to buyers in this more competitive market with interest rates. My next book before that I read was Alex Hermosi's book, $100 million leads. That was a great book. It was one of the books that really made me realize what I had almost pulled off over 18 years and how I was building my business. I should say that it was very relatable to how I built my business, just shooting my shot and reaching out to a lot of people. I also read the book The Road Less Stupid. Now, my buddy has been telling me to read this book for several years. And what was interesting is when I was going through trying to pick another book, I went to the stack and I saw this book and I was like, oh, my buddy's been telling me to read this. I didn't even know I had it. And so I read that. So good. It was a really good book. I also read my buddy, one of my good friends, Nolly Williams. He's got a book called 3 Hours a Day. And I read that book, super solid on how to work 3 hours a day and accomplish a lot. I also read the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I believe that's how you say it. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Starts off really great. The ending of it, the last few chapters, not the biggest fan of, but just because I read something and like aspects of the book doesn't mean I have to fully put my stamp on everything. But the last few chapters weren't my favorite, but there was some solid principles in that book. And then my first book I read, I was going from what my most current book is to the first book. My first book I read was 75 Hard. So Andy Frisella he wrote a book on 75 Hard on why to how to do the program. And so those are the books I read. So like I said, you're working out twice a day. One of them's outside. You learn a lot. I'm in Arizona, so I'm sure if you were in other, so it was a tad hot. But nothing major. I'm sure if you're in other states or doing it during certain seasons, that could be harder to get a 45-minute work in outdoors. I'm sure with places that rain, thunderstorms, things like that. So the workouts, take a progress pic, read 10 pages. So I read a lot of books. 1 gallon of water a day. Like I said, I've got my flask next to me right now. I was joking with somebody yesterday. I met this realtor to help them with some things in their business. And he started, I think he said he's on like day 23, 24. Super cool to see people starting doing this. And he had his, I got to the conference room and he had his big old water bottle and I did too in my backpack. And I looked at him, I said, if somebody says they're on 75 hard and they don't have their water bottle with them and they're going into a 2-hour meeting, I would almost say, I don't know if they're telling the truth. Meaning like we talked about the water consumption. And that is one of the harder things that's interesting. No alcohol or no cheat meal. So let's explain this. So no alcohol. I mean, there's no alcohol for 75 days. There's just no way around it. And no cheat meal. So what's cool is Andy Frisella says, I'm not going to pick your plan. I'm not going to pick your nutrition. I'm not going to pick your diet. You pick one and live with it. Just whatever you say you're going to do it. That's what I love about this program is that's where you can say, this isn't a weight loss system. This isn't a fitness system. This is a mindset challenge. He's saying, pick whatever, you know what to do. You know what to do. Like whatever you're trying to accomplish that. Pick whatever diet you want and stick to that. And just be honest with yourself. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Because this is a mindset thing. And you got to start laying down some standards on what you're going to do for 75 days. And are you going to honor those standards to yourself? And are you going to stick to it? So mine was, it was just basically it was ground turkey, jasmine rice, grilled chicken, jasmine rice. It was protein shakes. It was a steak and a baked potato. It was a lot of the same food over and over and over, just meal prepping. You learn so much during this process. Like I said, the biggest thing I learned was time management. And there were days let's go back a few months ago where I just wanted to go to the gym once a day or go on a walk once a day. And I would be like, I'm tired. I'm not going to do it today. I'd get home from work. I want to go to the gym. Wouldn't go. I'm tired. And it's interesting how we'll renegotiate with ourselves. But when we're on a program like this, if you don't do it, you got to start over. So there's certain days where you just do it. Meaning there was one day in the 75 days where I had a gnarly migraine. And sometimes I get those, and it put me out. It was a migraine that went from wake up to go to bed and all day. And so that day I did 2 45-minute outdoor workouts, just 45-minute rucks with the weight on my back. And I just remember being on that. And those were the days where that was the one day where it just was not enjoyable. I was just getting through it because I did not want to have to start over. And so, but there's so much to be said about that. Like, meaning I went to lunch during this. I think I was on like day 4 or 5, and I went to lunch with two of my realtor friends. One had already completed 75 hard, and we were talking about that. And he would say like, oh, he's like, I remember when I was doing it, I would get home from like, at nighttime, I'd go to the basketball game, get home at 11:30 at night, and realized I hadn't read my 10 pages yet. And I'm reading my pages at 11:30 at night. And I asked him, I said, that's what's so cool about the program is that you said you were going to do something for 75 days, and most people would have never have got home from the basketball game 11:30 at night, tired, wanting to go to bed. Most people would have just said, hey, I'll read tomorrow. But like, you just know that you have to get that done because you said you were going to get that done. I would love to see what could happen in business, let's say realtors, what could happen if you did a 75 hard real estate edition. If there was things that you said, I am going to do every single day for 75 days consistently, no matter what if for 75 days you had to do an open house every day, and you had to send 5 handwritten note cards out, and you had to send 5 text messages to past clients or people in your network, and you had to make 1 social media post about real estate? Wouldn't that be super cool if you had like standards where it was the same thing, where if you got home at 11:30 at night from something and you're like, oh man, I haven't did that one thing, and if I don't do it, I have to start over. That's why this is a mental challenge. This is discipline. It's honoring what you said you were going to start, no matter what feelings you have that day, because our feelings change. We say we want something, and we know this is going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years. We say we want it, but will we wake up on those days where we don't want it? Will our emotions override what our goal is? And so that one day I was sick, that wasn't the best. And then also there was, I believe 5 days from about day 40 to 45, somewhere around there in the 40s. On those days, I was in Vegas. I was at EXPCon, a real estate convention, and I was in Vegas for 5 of those days. And still, I had the event, the conference, I had lunches, dinners planned with people. I had private masterminds that I had to get to, all kinds of stuff. I had many people that I invited there as guests. And I still had to do this. I still had to get to the gym. I had to go on my outdoor walk. And it was so cool because even there, my goals couldn't take a vacation. I was at a business trip, and I couldn't take off. Like, I had to honor my water, my workouts, no alcohol, no cheat meals, reading my book. I remember one night in Vegas, it was like 11:30 p.m. and I was reading 10 pages of a book, and I felt like I was just sleeping while reading. But you were just so committed. And that was when from day 40 to 45 while I was in Vegas, when I got back, that's when I knew game was on. That's when I knew, when I went to Vegas for 5 days and did all that. That's when I knew that I had went to another level in my brain of just commitment. And I'm excited to see where that goes as I'm coming to the 75th day of 75 hard. So, what I really liked about this process was just the clear head. And so I was trying to figure out how to explain that to somebody recently. Like, what does a clear head mean? And a clear head to me meant I didn't have a lot of options. Let me explain that. A clear head
means because I tried to dig deep. I'm like, why does my head feel clear? Like, what does this mean? And I'm a thinker. So I think, and I'm like, why does my head feel clear? Like, what does that mean? Why does it feel clear? And then I realized I just processed it and I was like, that's it. It's because I don't have a lot of options, meaning I used to get up sometimes and just say, you know what? Where am I going to go today for lunch? What sounds fun? Where am I going to go tonight for dinner? What sounds fun? And where am I going to go eat? And then I realized that I didn't have those options really anymore. A lot of my day was structured, it was planned. I'd already had meal preps. I had to get water in. I usually had to get a protein shake in. I had to get a progress picture in, two workouts in. There wasn't a lot of room for error. There wasn't a lot of room for options. And I realized that my brain was clear because I don't have all the options. And that's where I think that we can go wrong. I think that's where a lot of mistakes are made in life, is that the world is so big and we have so many options and we have so many places we can eat. And we have so many things we can do, and we can consume social media for so long, and we can consume Netflix, and we can do this and we can go there. We've got cars, and we've got so much comfort that we can do so much. And those options, I find that the people who are usually living the biggest lives are the ones that have discipline in their day. Now, I'm not saying you don't have fun. I'm not saying you don't go do things sporadically. It's just overall living your life. Is that the way you want to do it? And so I just realized I had a clear head because I didn't have a lot of options. I knew, I was so focused on what I had to do that day, and I had not a lot of time to waste to get that done. So to get my work done and to enjoy my wife and to get all this done, I had to make sure I was focused. And so I woke up with a clear head because I had a lack of options. And that's important to note. Probably one of the most important reasons why I want to talk about this subject today. So now I want to just, what's next? That's for the last 5 days. I've probably been going through the most interesting time since day 70. When it was 5 days left, I went through them. That was for day 1 to 70. It was just head down, get it done. It's one of those things where the finish line's so far out there, you're just 1 foot forward, 1 foot forward, 1 foot forward. Every day felt like 1 foot forward. Just get today done, get today done, get today done. That was it. Now, once I got to 70, that's when I was like, ooh, the finish line is here. That's where it got probably the hardest, and not the hardest like physically, the hardest mentally, as in what's next? Like, what's next? So Friday is my 75th day. That's the ending. So at midnight, let's say Saturday, I wake up. What's next? I'm telling you guys, I've loved this podcast. That's why I started this off by thanking everybody. Some of these solo shows that I do are sometimes my favorite because I just get to process things with a microphone in front of me. But when I tell a lot of people that I sit on my back patio a lot and think, and the podcast has been fun because when I do solo shows like this, especially about things I'm going through personally, it's just me thinking out loud. And it's been something where people can now hear how I think. And so I think it can help them. It helps me process thinking more because I can say it out loud. It's a little bit different than writing things down or just thinking in your head. And so I'm just telling you guys, my thing was, what's next? So Saturday, what's next? Do you sign up for it again? Do you build your own program where it's not that intense, or do you look at it and say, wow, like this is a clear head, maybe I should do it longer? um should I just do these types of days 95% of my life? That's what I'm going through right now. So I just want to let you know that it's been super fun, and it's turned me into something that, it's made me think, and I'm really excited because I like these challenges, because this is a better challenge, because even though our challenges don't go away, they're just different challenges. So 73 days ago, I just wanted to get to today, and that was my goal. And I remember thinking, man, if I could just get done with 75 days, how cool would that be? There are only so many people who have probably accomplished that. Like, I'd probably feel really good. But what the goal was, and I thought it would make me so happy, I'm now here. And now as I'm here, you realize the goal just changes. And that's the interesting thing about as you're growing and you're always trying to be better, what you think you want that's going to make you happy is just something that you get to, and then you think of something else. And so that's where I'm at right now, but I'm super thankful. So I want to bring this up because one, it's a cool day. Like I said, I have 75 days until I'm 40. And here's what I had thought. And I thought this probably 4 months ago, and I'm so thankful for my friends and challenging me. And I'm so thankful for them. Like, what would have happened if I didn't have friends like that? Like a friend that says, hey, let's do this. Not all friends do that. And then they text you throughout the whole thing and help you out. Like there was one buddy of mine that, thank God for him, that would just help me through the process on how to lift weights and what to do at the gym, and just so much growth that happened during that time. But, as there's 75 days until I'm 40, I look at this and say, I had known a few months ago that I wanted to go into 40 in some of the best health of my life, meaning just physically, right? Just on point is what I would say. And so now that I've got 75 days till I'm 40, that's, I wanted to turn 40 and already be a different person. I think that, so this is what I want to explain as I'm wrapping up is we always think that Monday is the starting date, or the New Year's the starting date, or when I'm 40 is the starting date. Why don't we go into these seasons? Why don't we just get some massive action and say, why don't I go into that with momentum? Like if that's a good idea on Monday or the New Year or on the first of the month or when I'm 40, that's a good idea then. Why isn't it a good idea now? If it's a good idea then, it should be a good idea now. And if we start now, then we have momentum. So when we hit that date, we're going in with momentum. And so this is another one where it's massive action, momentum, and being a little bit obsessed about a goal. And so here's my thoughts as we're getting to New Year's. I'm sure everybody's going to write their New Year's resolutions like most people do. I really never have did that. It's not been my jam, not how I really operate, but a lot of people do. And so what I would say is right now, why don't you act like it's New Year's tomorrow morning? Or why don't you say, hey, this is where I want to be on New Year's, like on the 1st of January, this is where I want to be, not this is when I want to start. And that's going to help you out because you're going to go into 2024 with some momentum. It's not going to be a day where you celebrate that night and then the starting line is on the 1st. You're going to go into the 1st with some confidence. You're going to have some time on task. And when you say you're going to do something and you do it for long enough, that's what builds confidence. And so, guys, I want to thank you so much for listening. And I thank you for letting me share this journey that I'm going through. And I hope that you guys all find your misogi. I don't know if that's what it's called. I think it is. But the point is that he said, just do something hard that you don't know if you can complete. And when he said that, my buddy, a week or two later, messaged me on this. I didn't know if I would complete it, to the point where I didn't even want to post it on social media. Now, you guys might be like, whoa, Chris, like you've posted it almost every day. Now, that didn't come until later. It was not until I did a podcast with one of my buddies, and he had mentioned it on one of the podcasts. Well, people listen to the podcast, obviously, and someone hollered at me on Instagram and said, hey, congratulations on starting 75 hard. And what was also cool is how many people text me and said that they were starting too. And so you realize like, whoa, that's cool. Like I started something, not saying they started because of me, but just really cool to see that like you start something, someone else sees that they started too. And yeah, it's really cool to see how many people reached out during this time, supported me. And I hope that you guys all just find what your misogi is. Like, what's that hard thing that you want to do, and start now. Don't start at the new year. Don't start Monday. Start now, build momentum. And I thank you guys. Appreciate you guys listening to this show. What I want you to do is find me on Instagram. Find me on Instagram. You can find my Instagram in the show notes. Let me know what you're doing. I'd like to support you however I can. But yeah, reach out. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish. I'll support you however I can. And let's go from there. I hope you guys all have a great week.